Hey, what's going on, guys? So I'm back, and today we're talking about this beast of a camera, the A7 II. I'm assuming most of you, like me, saw that price range drop from about $1,200 to about $1,000 for this camera and said, hey, let's test it out. And personally, I really think it's a great camera. But now that you bought the camera, you are in the process of trying to figure out how to use it. And after having switched from Canon to Sony about 3 weeks ago, I still don't really know what I'm doing. But I'm getting there, and I do know some really good settings to shoot at to make your video look very cinematic and very clear. So obviously the A7 II is not the best video camera on the market for that price range, and especially not the best Sony camera. You have the A6500, the A6300. A lot of the A series cameras are very good, and some of them do better video than this thing. But the reason I chose this camera is because I feel like it has a very good balance of photo quality to video quality. So the photos on this thing, I'll show you a couple right now, but the photos on this thing are crazy. They are so clear. The resolution is crazy. I couldn't ask for a better photo camera. But after experiencing this camera for the last few weeks, I've learned that it's actually pretty solid for video, and it actually does a really good job when actually shooting video. So let's just hop right into the settings. So first, let's talk format. And format is going to be under the second column on your first settings, and we're going to put it as XAVCS. This is the highest resolution that this camera shoots. MP4 is not as high of resolution, and it just won't capture as much detail when actually filming your clips. But with that, you do need a memory card that goes along with exVAC. So me personally, I use the SanDisk Extreme, and this is a really good memory card. It's pro resolution. You can shoot an exVAC, and you can shoot really high quality video in it. And so another thing we'll talk about is record settings. So for the highest quality, you want to shoot in 24 frames per second, and this just allows your camera to capture as much information as possible. But I do want to warn you, if you are doing slow motion, it is better to shoot in 60 frames per second, because when you go back to edit it, it will have captured more frames per second, obviously. So that will look way better when actually trying to do slow motion in your videos. But I have to warn you, it does dilute the quality a little bit. It's not too extreme, but it is noticeable. So just keep that in mind when filming, especially if you're doing films for companies and stuff like that. And so I pretty much just stick to 24 frames a second unless I know that I need a slow motion clip. And if you're squeezing one or two or however many slow motion clips into one video where most of it is the higher quality stuff, it's really hard to tell, especially if it's a 2-second clip or something like that. It's all just kind of how you want your video to look, and if you don't really need the clearest of quality, you can shoot in 60 frames a second, but personally I don't recommend it. Most of the rest of these settings are pretty much where you want them to be. You don't really have to change very many of them. One thing that has helped me a lot is changing your custom keys, and those are the little C1, C2, you have C3 right here. For now, I'm just going to talk about C1 and C2. And you can find those under your settings and custom key settings. I have my control wheel set to ISO. It's just basic, that's how the camera came. I just kept it, I liked it. But C1, custom button 1, I have as my focus magnifier. And what that does is while you're filming, you can zoom in on the image and manually focus your image to be clearer. And so C1 and C2 kind of go hand in hand. C2 I have as autofocus, manual focus, control toggle. And what that means is that I can push this button and it'll change from autofocus to manual focus just with that click of a button. And this really helps because a lot of Sony lenses don't have autofocus switches like Canon's and other camera brands like that. So it is really helpful, and I really enjoy using this setting, and it is definitely super beneficial. So another thing that a lot of people don't change because they're scared that it can change their camera colors is picture profile. And so pretty much picture profile is a setting that can enhance your photos, and I believe it actually adds a lot to your video too, because it can make them easier to edit afterwards. So if you use Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere and you have LUTs installed, it really helps when applying those, and it can actually make editing easier, and it can make your videos look a lot better post-production. So what I do is I go to my picture profile, and that can be found under the camera on section 5. What I have it set to is PP2, picture profile 2, and I didn't really want to mess up the settings on picture profile 1, so I just went in and I said, oh well, picture profile 2 will just be my custom one. Just in case I ever want to go back, I can just choose picture profile 1. I'll just kind of speed through my settings here because it is a lot, and I don't want to go through and explain every single detail and exactly why I did every single thing. But basically, a lot of it is just kind of finding a good balance of each setting. And so we'll just run through these real quick. So we have black level at +2, gamma at Cine 4, black gamma, I have it set to wide and +4. Knee, I have just auto. Color mode, I set color mode to pro. Saturation, I have it +5. Detail, I have it +4. So basically that's pretty much what I got, and I've really noticed that it really makes your videos a lot easier to edit afterwards, and it gives them that extra cinematic look. But if you really are too scared, you can always reset the buttons, so it's pretty easy to fix your mistake if you really don't like it. But me personally, that's just kind of what I have, and it really makes having those LUTs a lot easier to work with in post-production. So with that, guys, your video should be looking a lot better. Hopefully you learned a lot from this. I know because of that deal, a lot of people bought this camera, and a lot of people kind of talk shit about this camera, and I really think it's a really high quality camera. You know, its video isn't amazing, but it's a photography camera. I still think its video quality is really good, and it's definitely worth it if you're primarily shooting photos and want to do a little video on the side. It's definitely a great camera for that. That's primarily what I use it for, and I really couldn't be happier with my choice. But I have seen a lot of videos and people hate this camera for some reason. I don't understand. I really think that this camera has a lot of good use in it, and for a lot of beginners and even people who know their way around a camera. You know, obviously I'm going to have to upgrade sooner or later, but for the time being, I think it's worth it, and I think it's a really good camera. So, but anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you again in the next video. So, later.